Hello, welcome back to Capes and Phasers. I am Trev and he is Gray. Um, yeah, I know they showed Star Trek Strange New Worlds episode 1 and 2 back to back, but we took a day's break in between them because to watch two episodes back to back and review them both was a wee bit too much. So we took a breather. But we are back for
hmm
episode 2 of season 3, titled Wedding Bell Blues. Gray, I'll be honest, when it started, I thought this would be one of the filler episodes for the first, like, maybe, I don't know, like 5, 10 minutes or so. And I was thinking this is going to be a bit boring and just get to the action.
hmm
But it pleasantly surprised me and started getting better pretty quick. Give me your overall thoughts and opinions on this episode.
Yeah, I thought the same thing. In fact, I really liked the episode because it was kind of harkening back to TOS, which is means a lot to me because I grew up with that show. And I gotta credit the writers. I know it might be a wee bit harder for you to understand, but the writers really took a time to connect from this show the threads in the original show. But the way they did it was something that you could still enjoy, regardless of the fact that some of the things that I will mention you have no clue about. So that shows very very good writing because if you get too deep on either end, you lose some of your audience. So they found a really interesting way to keep it going for the older audience that remembers TOS and et cetera, or maybe the newer audience that watched every episode of TOS or whatever. But they did a really good job, and
They did.
there was some very great episodes in TOS that were similar to this, where it was humorous but still good, and this really ranks right up there with a couple of those on the old show. So I was impressed.
Agreed. It was following on from the last episode that the Enterprise is back at Starbase getting repaired. 3 month layover. Um, Enterprise was pretty bashed up after the last episode, so a bit of shore leave for some people. It's Starbase 1 they were at, I believe, yeah, because you saw those circular dome things
Mm-hmm.
outside, which were pretty cool. And Corby, Dr. Corby makes well, his first appearance, I guess, technically, along with
Yeah.
Nurse Chapel, who's came back from their little working vacation thing that they had going. And Spock has a little kind of surprise where he's working on his salsa dancing. Or not, was his salsa? Yeah, I guess it
So
was salsa
yeah,
dancing.
I think it was
Um,
salsa.
he's working on his moves to surprise her, but she comes back with Corby and they're a thing, they're an item, and he's a bit pissed off about it. Um,
Mm.
but then the MacGuffin of the episode was a strange character with excellent sideburns and an Australian accent, bit campy, turns up and gives Spock a drink to drown his sorrows because he's lost his girlfriend to an Irishman. And back actually, really, really quickly, Gray, to the
Mm.
best of your memory, Corby and TOS, English, American, Irish.
Um,
You remember?
I wouldn't say I wouldn't say American, but again, back then though, the problem was that any accent had to be Americanized, like I've said before last time. So I'm gonna say yes, but not like today.
To which one? To which accent?
So I'm gonna say that the Corby and TOS was Irish, but because you could hear an accent, but the accent was so
It was
buried that
subtle. It
yeah,
was subtle,
yeah,
yeah, yeah, yeah.
yeah.
That makes sense because you can't just change where a character came from. That would piss me off. Like,
Mm-hmm.
stick to
Mm-hmm.
canon. So, but this guy's obviously got a thicker Irish accent. That's fine. Details.
Yeah,
We
yeah.
talked about accents last time with Scotty and whatnot as well, and I don't have
Right.
a problem with that. They're not changing anything significant. But essentially, Spock's drowning his sorrows, and he happens to make a wish at the same time as taking a drink from this mysterious new character who's pretended to be a barman.
Mm-hmm.
And all of a sudden he wakes up and he's beside Nurse Chapel and they're getting married. Obviously, the shit's hit the fan, and everything's absolutely bizarre and mysterious. Now, this interesting character, you could see him like in a data pad, like a reflection, and he looked like an Endorian for a moment.
Right.
But I guess many faces, many guises. And Gray kept telling me, he's like, do you recognise it? Do you recognise it? And I don't see the picture. I wasn't using Paramount Plus, so I didn't see the splash screen that was on for the second episode. I'm
Mm-hmm.
like, no, no, don't tell me anything. I'll just watch it. And it's not until later on that the only way they can break the truth is direct confrontation, or more than likely sheer adrenaline and rage. What are strong emotions, really strong emotions, will break the truth, because Spock and Corby they come to their senses after getting into a little fight, and they're trying to convince everyone else, but it's not working. But eventually they do get outed. And Gray, I am so I know who it was. It was obvious as soon as you heard his voice. It was the character was the son of Q, because Q comes in at the end. Now, I haven't seen that TOS episode, or if whatever it's linking into, right? But
Mm-hmm.
you do not hear or see or know of the Q until the next generation. So is this them skirting around canning again, or are they just on it and no more?
No, but now that you've broached the subject, I'll tell you what's going on. There was an episode. I'm pretty sure I didn't look up, but the name of the episode was "The Squire of Gothos" in the original series. Now there was a character called Trelane. That's who that
Yeah,
guy is. All right, Trelane was very much like Q, except back then no one knew who Q was. So the fans out there, when Q appeared on Next Generation, this has been an ongoing discussion without anybody ever saying anything in the canon world of Star Trek that Trelane is somehow part of and or is part of the race of Qs.
yeah,
Okay, and that story has been drifting around for years. I mean, since Next Generation.
yeah.
But you only ever saw Q pop up in more than one Star Trek show. You never saw Trelane again. So yeah, I think this was more of a, and I think it's a great thing that they did. This is more of a kind of a love letter to the fans, all fans, that what they were assuming has now become canon. Especially near the end, which I was not expecting to hear Q's voice and him addressing him as his son, which really would. So they made a solid connection now. Now it's canon. There's no way you can not know this anymore.
Right.
So I knew that at the beginning when I saw Trelane, I was going like, cool, because I said they're going to be doing something with this, and obviously he's so much like the Q. And so when at the end of all this, and we see the Q, you don't actually see Q though, which is good. I'm glad they did that. I didn't want to see Q because the only time they actually saw Q for the first time was in Next Generation.
But Gray, you hear Q. Now, the
You do?
problem I've got with that is, was it only his son that could hear him, or was it everyone? Because if it was everyone, and or things are recorded and documented all the time in Star Trek, when it
I,
comes to the next generation, he should go, "You're Q." Picard should go, "You're Q." I recognize
I'm,
the voice; it's documented. So let's assume, hang on, let's assume that only his son could hear his father speaking.
and I think that's what it is because the other thing that you brought up that I was glad you noticed was there were three. I think there was three times during this episode where the first time was when Spock was looking at the bartender who was Trelane and says, "I didn't know that there were Vulcan bartenders." Because he saw for a microsecond a Vulcan, and then it's back to what Trelane is looking like. And then later, you saw the reference to Andorian, and you saw the reflection of the Andorian. And then there was one other one which I can't remember right now.
Yeah,
Uh, and so you have three times where people are seeing the species that they want to see, or related to them. And as soon as you see all that happen, and you know that he's controlling all this, so more than likely they may have heard Q, but probably they heard either mumbo jumbo or they heard what they wanted to hear, It could have been
Yeah.
the voice of their father, their mother, their brother, their whatever, and then they go. So I'm sure that's pretty much what really happened. To
Yeah.
be honest.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
that's good because, like I said, I didn't want to see Q because that would screw things up royally because they first saw Q in Next Generation, so you can't see him. So this was perfect. You only heard him, and it made sense. And now the connection that all fans have been wondering about has finally been made, and now it's canon. So very interesting. This
Yeah.
also opens up the door that I don't know if they're gonna do it, but you could technically bring Trillane back. Oh, but he does come back because he comes back in TOS, which in the timeline is going to happen after
So
Strange New
leave it
Worlds.
be. Leave it be then, I
Mm-hmm.
would say.
I would say too, yeah, because he'll just pop up, when he's supposed
Yeah.
to.
Yeah. You got away with not breaking canon. You got close
Mm-hmm.
to it, but you managed to pay off something for the fans without actually breaking it. So I don't have a problem
Right.
with them flirting with the breakage of canon, but never actually cross that line. See the
Mm-hmm.
canon line. It's more entrenched than the neutral zone, right? You can't cross it. Do
Yeah.
not cross it. They'd be Romulans on the other side. But I'm glad they've paid off something for the fans. That is pretty cool. And let's assume, although one quick thing from Q could have been, you know, don't worry, son, no one else can hear us, just us two. There you go. You've fixed that. You've cleared something up with. Gray and I've said many a time, one line of dialogue fixes so many problems and covers your backside. So, um, it was an excellent episode. I mean, Dr. Korby get turned into a dog. I mean, at one point, it was pretty
Yeah.
amusing. Although Erica Ortega at the end
Yeah.
had no
That's
one to
weird.
dance
That
with,
was
and she went marching off when everyone was dancing to Jitterbug.
cliffhanger.
Gray was like, "It's still around." I was like, "Well, yeah, like no one's deleted all of music off of the bloody face of the universe. Of course, it's still around." But Jitterbug's on; they're all dancing, everyone's having a good time, and she is not. So she disappears off into her quarters. She's got changed just like that, and she's back to the punch bag again. And then she sees in the reflection of the mirror a Gorn behind her. Now, is that just post-traumatic stress, or
I,
is there some mind control there? What do you think, Griff?
Well, we're not going to know until
No, what do
further
you
into the season.
think? Not what's going to happen.
I would think that it is because she's been under a lot of stress. Obviously, she almost died. So I think yeah, it is post traumatic stress syndrome, or at least that's the way to explain it for now. Now, whether that actually develops into anything else, I don't know. Maybe she's going to go mad.
Pike sees her leave, and he doesn't go after her, which I found a bit weird because Pike would
Yeah,
normally.
I thought he was going to go over there and ask her for a dance because she was
Yeah,
alone and
yeah,
had no girlfriend.
partner.
So I thought it was going to happen, but I was a little surprised that all of a sudden she was just gone, and but this way they could make the point, I guess, so or
Yeah.
whatever.
Well,
I assume he's probably going to come and talk to her in future episodes, like, "Are you all right?" or
it'll be interesting to see what happens with our character going forwards. To be honest with you, there's no ship counselor at this stage, so things are a bit
Hmm.
more. I'm not surprised it takes them as long as it does to actually get ships counselors in Star Trek, considering
The whole
long, not but long 5 year deep space missions with no counselor. You wouldn't do
and,
that now. See, when we send someone to Mars, Greg, within a
yeah,
few years' time, whatever, like say 10 years' time, right? There will be one of the pilots or one of the astronauts that will
right,
be a
right, a
shrink at the
psychologist or
same
something.
time.
Yeah.
So it's a bit strange that.
To be honest with you, I'm going to go ahead and assume, and I think rightfully so, that there's always a psychologist or mental health specialist aboard any ship, no matter what. It's just that they made it a position, if you want to call it that, when Deanna Troi was counselor. The way I look at it is, and they kind of alluded to it a little bit in Next Generation, was like Deanna Troi was like the head of the psychology department, let's say.
Yeah.
So there were other psychologists other than her. She was just the head one and took care more of the higher end officers.
Yeah.
So to sit there and say that there was no psychologist aboard the Enterprise during Pike would be stupid. I mean I mean, whether the doctor, I mean, the doctor has a whole department of people. You saw
It
him running
it
around.
it just won't be someone that's maybe uniquely individually qualified to do that role and nothing else. There'll be someone that probably is in the medical department, but
Right.
that does a couple of different tasks or jobs, and that'd be one of them, possibly.
And I
But
will tell you another thing, and this goes back again to the fact of the original series was the 1960s. They're not going to come out in the 1960s and go, they have a psychologist to talk to crazy people.
yeah, 'cause we didn't do that back then,
There is a
unfortunately. So
stigma, right? There was a stigma back then that as soon as you say something like that, oh my God, they're mental. They're you know. So you never heard it, but come on, I mean, you don't think a ship of that size is not going to have psychologists? I mean, give me a break. You
yeah,
just didn't
true,
hear it, you know.
true,
Yeah,
true.
but
What would you give the episode out of 10?
um, wow, I was kind of struggling with it, but I'm trying to decide whether I want to give it a 9. For sure, an 8. There's no doubt in my mind. I'm only holding back a little bit on a 9 because the beginning was a little
Slow.
slowish, or maybe not developing as fast as I thought. But that's just a nitpick, to be honest. So I guess I'll go on record and say an 8. I mean, to me, that 8 is excellent. So you know,
Great minds continue to think alike, Greg, because I had it bang on an 8, to be honest here. I enjoyed it a lot more than I thought I would. I mean, for crying out loud, Spock was miniaturized and put inside of a glass, and he was a mini Spock. It was the only thing missing was the little squeaky voice when you go that small, going
oh
help,
yeah,
help, the high pitched voice.
yeah,
That
that
would
would
have
have
been
been funny.
that would have got it a half a point up to 8.5 out of 10.
Oh, they should have
So.
done that. That's a good one. They should have done what you
or
said.
or this
That
or
would
the
have been.
squeaky voice going, this is not
I'm in
logical,
here.
this is not logical, get me out of here.
I'll
uh
tell you though, but Spock had some good one-liners in this, which is typical, and it was a typical Spock line that he would just drop normally, but it
yeah,
becomes a one-liner, and I thought that was great. I really liked that. They kept him in character and being a real Vulcan. Like when they asked him what was it, I says, "Are you getting cold feet to go to the wedding?" He says, "No, my feet are warm."
he said it off the cuff really quickly as well, yeah.
Yeah, but because he had no idea what that
but
colloquialism meant, and he just
but
like,
but
okay.
you could argue that maybe he did and he was just trying to answer the question quick,
That's the yeah.
because
That's the
yeah, the
mystery of
one liner,
Vulcans.
he came on. This is where in the officers' mess, and he was trying to speak to the captain really quickly, and oh, have you got cold feet? No, no, my feet are. I think he knew what that meant, but like you say, the one-liner
Yeah.
deadpan was just brilliant. I mean, literally deadpan. He's Vulcan, so.
That's another
And he had a
thing.
nasty habit of showing off his six pack several times in this. Ethan Peck, come on, man.
They had to toss a little of that in there, right? That's because
Well,
Leonard
yeah,
Nimoy is too skinny to be without. Although Nimoy was out without a shirt in one, I think only one episode that I can think of when he was getting beat with a whip. Long story, but yeah, it was yeah. But the thing, I think they really capture the essence of Spock, and he does a great job at it. But the writing is where it counts. And they knew what a Vulcan was like. One of the weird mysteries of a Vulcan, and we've learned through TOS and the movies, is the fact that when they say something like that, you don't know if they're being sarcastic or not, or
yeah.
totally logical. If you remember, there were scenes in TOS and even in the movies where McCoy would look at Spock and say, "So is that sarcasm?" And he says, "There's no such thing in the Vulcan." Like, sure.
Yeah, man. Yeah, yeah. No, they done a good job. Listen, it's 2 episodes in, and we're giving it a 9 and an 8. So it's testament to. It's really hard to make good quality episodic
Yeah.
TV like this. It really, really is. And that's why I'm surprised it was slow at the start, because that was a 5 or 10 minute window that they could
Hmm.
have made flow a lot quicker, and they actually made their jobs a bit more difficult, the writers, in my opinion, by it took up until like the 10-15 minute mark before it really got going, and it's only like a 48-minute episode or something, so credit to them, they managed to make it work. But
They
yeah,
they may have done it on purpose, one of those slow boil kind of things, you know. So they just kind of
oh yeah.
like, or maybe that was their intention from the beginning, for all we know.
maybe. But I
The only
mean,
thing I
listen,
hope going forward, and I'm sure you do too, is since we've had a 9 and an 8, I'm praying we don't have any stupid episodes like the music one. And if they can keep the
no one
quality,
knows.
if they keep the quality, this is going to be a great season. And I've already been hearing things about the next season is as good or better.
Yeah,
Then if
yeah,
that's the
true.
case, then we're in for some good stuff, which is going to be great. So,
I look forward to it. I look forward to it.
mhm.
We'll wrap up there, people. We'll be back next week as normal. Like it's back to every week. I'm surprised I actually done a double bill yesterday because like it's so little episodes. I think they would want to eke it out a little bit more. But they gave us a little treat. It'd been 7 months, so I guess I'll take it and not complain too much. We'll be
Mm.
back next week for episode 3. But until then, say goodbye to the people, Gray.
Live long and prosper, everybody. Bye.
Cheers, guys. See you next week. Bye bye.